Any continual thoughts about this 13-sided carnelian or the chant?
As a matter of fact, I had just noted down. Um, I have a carnelian, and sometimes you'll feel drawn to a certain stone, and I had that feeling, and when I was writing that down, so that's pretty wild you asked that.
And of course, in a different sense, it's kind of like this triangle where it kind of represents the four-sided shape. Like, you know, got my seasonal, relatively four-sided one. I got my order of 9 angles related group, four-sided. It's kind of like a bloodstone, but it's with agate. So it's it's an agate bloodstone instead of a jasper bloodstone. Because remember, I have my approximately four-sided jasper bloodstone.
Very neat.
And I don't know when this is going to be incorporated at some point, but this is like this is a gratitude rock, and I thought it was like it kind of reminded me of a tooth. And so I'm not, it doesn't have a ritual place yet, but it's there for the future.
Right. Welcome to the family.
But okay, what's the other chant? And the rope, well, I guess it's more of a string, but this is hemp. So if somebody wants to go all Shiva Shakti with it, that's, I guess. But it's just a good fabric for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty strong.
So we have a difference in the one word, because a sleeve fits in with a couple words that aren't quite there. Knowledge, presence, and power would be rum, avak, and kulti. So it's possession of a different sort. It's not. So that could be like the circle and the triangle.
Okay.
And
very good.
Of course, we have. Now I'm trying to find the ring, but I thought I'd show you again my owl flare. Oh, it's not showing up. This actually totals to 22, but there's, 4 owls and 4 plants.
I like that. That looks like a macrame type style. But here's mine with the rings and the scarf.
Oh, did I lose one of the beads when I did that?
Oh.
Well, it's an old thing, and oh no, yep, I did because it broke.
Oh no.
Okay, well,
you'll be able to fix it.
I don't know. I think this thing's an antique, but it's gonna go to good use no matter how it sure survived 88 impacts.
That's right.
But so I told you that I would look up what we are coming across.
Oh yeah.
Because we had we mentioned some Polynesian beasts, and we'll get to that after are in between closing here, but C, or perhaps you would on your end, I don't know. So we have the Capre, the Manananggal, and the Tikbalang. And basically they're monstrous vampiric sort of entities. So to give a summary of that. So we are continuing with the black verses, and we should continue, we should be able to finish with that reference to the mythology in this section, if not the rest of it, but we'll see. So Job 1:6. One day the divine beings presented themselves before the Lord, and the adversary came along with them. And that's an odd one. Oh, not the divine being. Okay. There's some issues with translations. And so those are the house of divinity. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are gods or something, but one of the things we need to remember with the Bible is it's mixing in a bunch of traditions. So some unintended things are left in a way that they probably would have came back and altered had they not. And so what is the word for the adversary? Is it the adversary? No, it's not ha-satan, which I used in that pentagram, right? Remember, which I posted on my channel for anybody who wants a more in-depth, more linguistically, more biblically cosmological sort of pentagram, right, than the Golden Dawn based ones. But well, I mean, and I do show the replacement for the above me is a star of 6 and below me is a star of 5. I do say how to say that, but anyways, so Ashathan is the continual scourge. So that's one of the differences. Okay, in verse 7, and God is a verb and noun. It doesn't say Lord, because the Christians want to confuse you, and the Jews have gone along with this Lord, 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 when that's not really a translation of Yahweh. It's increasing existence, because Hua is existence, it's Eve.
I wonder if the Bible nowadays is much different than, hundreds of years ago, or when it originally.
Well, at least the words they're rending it. It's like, did you know the King James Version of the Bible did not use the word tyranny? They did not want to use the word tyranny because they were afraid it might be used against the government and people who quote the Bible against it, and that would give them power. So they decided not to use the word tyranny in their translation, even though other translations did.
Right. Was it the
So we
government?
said to the continual scourge, where have you been? The continual scourge answered, God is a verb and noun. I have been roaming all over the earth. So obviously, like the tagut thing is that, to throw in the Arabic word or atazath or all those words connected to that, is that Satan breaks the boundaries and goes beyond things rather than, the light beings, what you'd typically call an angel. It just does what it says and it doesn't really do anything beyond that. So, what it's been ordered to. So, but Satan just wanders around and does his own thing. And God is increasing existence, said to the continual scourge, have you noticed my servant Job? There is no one like him on earth, a blameless and upright man who's fearing of divinity and shuns evil. And verse 9, the continual scourge answered, God is a noun and verb. Does Job not have good reason to fear God? And then we skip some verses over here to verse 12. God is a verb and noun, replied to the continual scourge. See all that he has in your power. Only do not lay a hand on him. And the continual scourge departed from the presence of God as a verb and noun. So that's it with that chapter. And so as an entity, Job is really where it's at, where you're going to see Satan mentioned by name. But some people say it's like a mistranslation. I mean, it's like a misspelling or something. And it's like, I think they do it on purpose. So instead of calling him the adversary, they call him the continual scourge for a reason. But see, the idea is that, okay, the power is limited to, at this point, beyond the personal sphere. And we notice that when it is part of the personal body, when you can actually affect the body, well, it's not in the way that, like, in the movies where some spirit comes and it's torturing you physically to get you to do things. It's like, okay, things have come upon this person, and it's like, okay, if they it's not in that same sort of context.
Right.
And we don't know at this point if this thing, well, I mean, if we're just going off of this, we don't know at this point, is Satan, on God's side, or is it just carrying out a mission? In Eckankar, sometimes they would talk about how Kal Naranjan, which really makes sense more as a name for God rather than something separate, because they talk about the Ek force and the Kal force, and the force, the power and the time and the tension and stuff like this. Well, a deity that has power over that, or some aspect of the lower world or lower worlds,
What was that name called? Kalaran?
Kal Naranjans, KALNARANGAN, something like that.
Okay. Thank you.
So Job 2:1, one day those from the intelligence of the divinity presented themselves before or upon God as a verb, and the movement of the continual scourge was along with them to present themselves before God as a verb and noun. I'm trying to add some more linguistic element to what we're seeing here. So we're seeing an implication that, just like in the Islamic thing, it's talking about Iblis, but there were those that were like Iblis that were following along with Iblis. So, you get this implication of there was a movement with him. It wasn't just one being, it was like the rest of them too. And God as a verb and noun said to the continual scourge. This translation has adversary, but that's not a translation of Hashatan. Where have you been? And the continual scourge answered, God as a verb and noun, I've been roaming all over the earth. So again, this is a being without boundaries. God as a verb and noun said to the continual scourge, have you noticed my servant Job? There was no one like him on earth, a blameless and upright man who fears divinity and shuns evil. He still keeps his integrity. So you have incited me against him to destroy him for no good reason. And so obviously some people are beyond the physical conditions and what type of person they're going to be.
Wow. That was very interesting.
But one of the things you have is you have the light beings as a whole. The question was, when humans came around, it's like, wait a second, we've seen all these animals and all this stuff. Well, I mean, that's usually not part of the story, but they're like, they would have seen the animals and all that stuff. And if you put the human's going to shed blood and all that stuff too. Why are you going to give him a special position? You're not only going to have another animal, but you're going to have an animal that's like whatever. Okay, and the continual scourge answered God as a verb and noun, skin for skin, all the man has, he will give up for his life. but lay a hand on his bones and his flesh, and he will surely blaspheme you to your face. And verse 6, so God is a verb and noun, said to the continual scourge, see, he is in your power, only spare his life. Verse 7, the continual scourge departed from the presence of God as a verb and noun and inflicted a severe inflammation on Job. And Ayub is how you pronounce Job, by the way.
Ayub.
From the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. And that is it with the references in Job that use that name. So that's now if you don't read the original, you're probably going to just say there's no mention. You make it all the way through to this point in Tanakh, and then you have this. Now, I'm not saying this is original because the Sopharim having the rows and the columns and the numbers of letters, knowing all those and agreeing on those, that was, not the thing. And the order is different. So Psalms comes first. So Psalms has some pretty large passages. And if we get into angelic magic, that sort of stuff, we can talk about that. And just like the reference to the Devis, I would say cosmological. I don't think I've ever been anybody to ever invoke, not once in my life, a light being. I've never treated the thing as a god or called it in as intercessor or whatever. Now, whatever wants to take part and whatever, be present, whatever, they can, I'm not chasing away every other entity like some people waste so much time in their ritual life doing that sort of stuff.
Right.
So 109:6. Appoint a wicked man over him. May an accuser stand at his right side. So Shuthan is also an accuser. And so one of the things that a person would naturally want, I would think, is to not be the sort of person that would be accused. And the end of the black verses, and I think I'll take a break to refer Zechariah. Okay. Yeah, again, Zechariah is before Psalms. So Zechariah 3:12. And I think Zechariah is also the book. Is it Zechariah or Zephaniah that mentions the woman and her two vampiric daughters?
Oh, I don't know.
Like the Goetia number 2 would probably answer that question.
So it was in the it could possibly be in the which chapter? Not Zechariah, but
No, I mean 52. Zephaniah. No. Okay, I turned to Zechariah 3. These 12 are pretty close together. Zechariah 3. There's not a 3:12 here. So Zephaniah 3:12. Oh, maybe it's a version. You look up an answer and then you get a version because no refuge in the name of the Lord. Bashem Yahweh. So yeah, you're supposed to use the name of Yahweh. So none of this Adonai replacement. You have very explicit that. But we're not having a verse 12 here in Zechariah 3.
I've got that not. I should have brought it in here before.
Because we're having a verse 10 talking about removing the guilt. So okay, what is the phrase? My 14 the 7:57 a.m. Wednesday, the 21st of June, 2023. And this would be Pacific time. So Mountain would be 8:57, Central would be 9:57, and Eastern would be 10:57. 11:57 would be New England time. Is that the thing?
Yeah, I think so. Or
Okay.
I know there's like
Satan.
5, 4 in a.
Okay, Zechariah 3:2. 3:2 is, but the angel of God as a verb and noun said to the accuser, God as a verb and noun, rebuke you, O accuser, may, increasing existence, who has chosen Jerusalem, rebuke you, for this was a brand plucked from the fire. Okay, so I don't know why I said 12. So I guess it's good that I looked through this, because I'm going to have to remember and go over there and change that number. So we're at the end of the black verses. So let me reread the chant here and see what time we're at. If you had any thoughts in the meantime. Okay.
Very interested in the Bible about the vampiric mother with the children. That would I never knew that was in there. So yeah.
Okay. The Tikbalong are the Tigbalong, Tigbalon, Tikbalon, Tigbolon are werehorse, is a creature of Philippine folklore that's supposed to relate to the mountains and the rainforests. It has human-like features, which kind of makes me think of the whole Drill Sergeant Gray thing, and it's related to certain beings of Hinduism and Hayagriva, the horse-headed form of supposedly Vishnu incarnate, and head over the 14 worlds, 7 upper and 7 lower, Bu, Buva, Sava, Maha, Jana, Tapa, Satyam, and below, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Rasatala, Talatala, Mahatala, and Patala. And what is the other being? Okay, the Mananangbao. Okay, so there's horror movies about it, and it's supposed to be able to separate the parts of its body, the lower and upper parts, and it has wings and fangs, and it relates to a bunch of vampiric sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And the remover, tangal means to separate. And so it removes and it separates itself. It particularly goes after the sleeping, the fetuses, pregnant women involved in that sort of thing. And it's supposed to fly about while it has wings. So go figure, right?
Right.
Or at least it appears like that. And what is the name of the third beast that we picked? The capra. Okay.
You're good with pronunciations. Very good.
Okay, it's a filthy, big ape-like, but it's human-like. So it's humanoid, and it's it's tall. So figure that it's about 50% bigger in any direction than one. And there's a tree. It's related to a tree, and it may appear as a tree, but it's supposed to have a bad smell and a smoke. Remember the smokeless fire aspects of the mythology and all that. And okay. We have won in the night with the pulse of our fight. As the created forces are wed, we pollinate by longest light. The blue and golden gates are opened by increasing might. The diamond of our kingdom bears the crown beyond blight. The disproportionate features of the Tikbalang, Capra, and Manananggal move with us, and were not in fright, separated by oneself from the mundanes and their idealized situation, not quite. Our trainers know how to make us tight, straining and applying like a kite that feeds unexpectedly as we dite. We are enacting what they write. Some are alone in their plight. We have survived as something else to break through boundaries, as is our right. The dead and a causal, celestial, telestial, terrestrial, and infernal have their delight. Dark ones come to earth at the height. We are among them in our very might. A physical transfer is effected in and beyond the right. Are you ready for the dread light? Fully triggered, it is beyond sight. Pulse through the trance, all bright. This is their name from the stars. And of course, I didn't write punish it 88 times here, but that is the chant.
You're reading just then. To me, it's like, I feel like don't conform and go your way, no matter what, others do or say. Well, I made a little there, but
more explicitly related to Tempel of
Blood,
of course, we have, we have most of all, that brings up the sort of thing in issue 6, 7, of Predator, and I guess 5, and so there's this continual thing of like particularly like the female that's been put through, or the female that has a mission, and so her mission is outside of what she's being put through. It is what she's being put through. It's what she's supposed to do with what she's been put through, or whatever. So there's that there, but there's this general aspect of the trainer and the grays, that he, they are they're the ones that they're present. They don't do your work for you, but they at least represent a presence that's capable of being a thing. Now, okay, from Revelations, we have 20 verses 2 and 10. Okay.
can.
So, and I do, I this is in Greek, so when I do the right here, I'm going to be in Greek here. And he laid hold of the dragon and the serpent ancient, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. And, well, yeah, supposedly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, okay,
Mm.
just like the
Always wondered
Job
the
story,
Twitter.
what if the idea is it's just limited? Like the thing in Ramadan is like, okay, well, whatever programming is done, that programming can continue without its presence. It just doesn't, it just takes a break from that programming for a month.
Right.
I mean, it's not the one programming. So if Diabolos and Satan, are they different entities?
Hmm.
It almost makes it sound like they're different entities in this myth. So there's the dragon, the serpent. Okay, so the dragon and the serpent seems like it's the same. Those are like three different beings: the dragon, serpent, the devil, and Satan. Like they're
Yeah. I don't.
So there's reasons why people, like, for example, say, oh, Lucifer. It's like, well, that's not Lucifer. Lucifer's actually a title for Jesus and Daniel and some other stuff, and it's church insults that turn that into whatever. But verse 10, and the devil who misleads them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, were the beast and the false prophet. And see, so you do have an idea that it's a group of three. It's like Diabolos, the false prophet, and the beast. So the dragon serpent would be the beast, but would the dragon serpent be Azadahaka? There's all this stuff about Azadahaka and the false whatever. And false prophet, of course, is the the title of some of the Temple Blood stuff, and it's it's not false prophecy. It's the Bible kind of says it's like, if you're not taking our side with Christianity, it's a false prophet. It's like even Jesus himself would have been a false prophet according to you people, but and so
Right.
tormented day and night for the ages of the ages. That's one of the things too. Rather than like, okay, until justice is done, it's like, oh no, a never-ending torment if you're not one of us.
No such thing as
12:9, and was cast out the dragon, great, the serpent ancient, who is called the devil, that Diabolos. I included all those references here. And the Satan who misleads the habitable world whole. He was cast into the earth, and his angels with him were cast. So angels, as in his those that he sends off on missions, basically, are those that have gone along with.
People, a lot of times I think people will, think of an angel as a beautiful, creature, a beautiful woman with wings and all this stuff.
And and even when that's the thing, is that's I don't think that's really the point.
I mean, well, yeah.
And verse
That was just a thought.
12 here, because of this, rejoice ye the heavens, ye who are in the tabernacle, woe those who inhabit the earth and the sea, because it has come down the devil to you, having fury, great knowing that a short time he has. And the idea, of course, is that underlying is that generally we have this idea that these devils that we're here first. But the thing is, it's like, okay, there's this realm that they don't go in anymore. That was the main thing. So they're fallen because they're not allowed to visit a realm where they used to be able to visit. But if they're not the type of those beings, they probably would have, they might have left anyways, right?
Right.
If they're like, yeah, we're not of this side, or at least not completely part of this side. So it's not like the revolt of the angels. Some of the mythology gets kind of mixed up, and I think we're gonna break into another program here. But Revelation 2:10 would be, not at all fear the things that thou art about to suffer. Lo, is about to be cast some of you, the devil, into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation days. 10, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee the crown of life. Okay, so like the beast that has 10 crowns and 7 heads, so 10 are the trials. It's sort of like a Kabbalistic reference. You understand that the book of Revelation is 22 chapters. There's been some edits, but it was basically based on a 22 chapter thing, and they were narrowing down the alphabet to 22 letters. And so you're tried. So it's kind of conflicting with the other message you have here. It's not an internal hellfire. It's, you know, you're tried in order to accomplish something, or you go through as a result. And once that result's over with, that's kind of it, right? And then you can face, you know, what the value you did isn't lost. Because see, that's one of the tricks that they get you is they make you feel damned or something. And then, you know, they're like when things come through, it's like, oh well, you know.
Yeah.
And so Jude 1:9, but Michael the archangel, when with the devil disputing, he reasoned about the body of Moses, the body that did not care a charge to bring against him, railing, but he said, rebuke the Lord. Okay, well, that's a different order, but you know. So this Michael thing, Michael was using the like this I give this, well, it's reddish.
Yeah.
So I put it in one of those things you get in vending machines.
Yeah.
I don't know what was in that, but I think I was getting the mini Rubik's cubes.
Oh,
I
neat.
was collecting the mini Rubik's cubes. I wanted the mini the
I
mini
used to have
playing
one of
card deck,
those.
but they have that on display, but they haven't had that as a possibility for quite some time, which is disappointing. I need to ask somebody at the store, can I just give you twice as much what the axe and you open the machine and get me the thing, because it's obvious the thing's not there anymore. You're
Yeah.
putting a different line of toys in there. But see, you know, that in that pentagram you have the Michael, but the Michael has authority, you know, outside of its is not using its own authority. And I think let's